You're no longer scrolling to feel good, you're scrolling just to feel normal. This is exactly what happens to heroin addicts. Hey, it's Sam, and today I'm talking about something really important, as it says defragment your planetary karma, as it says dopamine deficit, addiction, marital collapse, diminished intelligence, pornography, fragmented attention, teen mental health crisis. All of this is because we live in a dangerous new digital landscape that's changing our personal and collective karma irrevocably. Today I'm not just going to talk about those things, I'm going to show you the studies that are linked to these brain situations right now and this karmic deficit. We make the mistake when we think this is just a sort of distraction. No, we are paying a karmic penalty for this because all of our attention and energy, it's the only thing we have in life is our awareness, and our awareness is getting fragmented and it's getting hijacked intentionally. So you're not going to want to miss this video. I have a free web class you can register for that's coming up on Friday, November 7th at 10 a.m. The replay will be available. The free webinar is The Science of the Hijacked Mind. Discover the research-backed data on how social media is engineered to fragment your attention, create anxiety, and damage your focus and karma in the Vedic sense. So again, this outline was prepared from that page, and I go into depth of all of this research. These are just bullets of the real research. And I'm also going to talk about how each of the planets are impacting you. So as it says here, scientific proof, the personal impact, the dopamine effect. Constant high dopamine hits from social media create a dopamine deficit state. So understand, you're no longer scrolling just to feel good because, oh, this is fun. But you are compulsively scrolling just to feel normal. What this means, it's like a junkie who, after a certain point, they need more and more to get high. So they're not getting high to feel good, which is how they started. They're getting high just to feel normal because they're at a deficit state. So much of this constant scrolling and short attention span, hits makes us in a deficit state now. So we're scrolling just to feel normal. This creates diminished intelligence, constant digital distractions, emails, messages, caused a 10-point drop in IQ, more than double the 4-point drop from smoking marijuana. That was from Dr. Glenn Wilson's research 10 years ago. Now, again, that was 10 years ago in 2005. 20 years ago. That study was done in 2005, 20 years ago. They realized that a 10-point drop was experienced when we were checking emails and multitasking. What about now, with the phones constantly fragmenting our attention? It means that we're kind of like digital potheads, like our intelligence is diminished as if we were high, as if we've just gotten high and smoked pot. Again, this is backed by research. Of course, our fragmented attention span, automatic checking behaviors from social media fragmenting attention and damages the brain's ability to sustain voluntary focus. Taylor and Francis online study. Again, this automatic checking. We're always checking. Did someone like this? Did someone like that? What's going on here? Am I missing something? This like anxiety. So this has led to a teen mental health crisis. High-frequency social media use is linked to a sharp rise in depression, anxiety, suicidal ideation, especially among teens. This was done through PubMed Central. So more scientific proof on the relational and societal impact. Pornography and damaged intimacy. Again, problematic pornography use is linked to severe anxiety, desensitization, and real-world sexual dysfunction. This is more prominent in men. This is a Venus karma deficit. In women, the Venus karma deficit is different. By the way, I'm going to talk about that when I explain real quickly the course concept, that I am going to be teaching a course on this so that we can get back to wholeness. But Venus, of course, influencing through men and social media addiction and social media fragmentation leads to porn, things like that. And with women, it's more glamorized ideation and other kinds of, goddessy projections, selfies, vanity. Of course, this kind of thing leads to marital collapse. Increased Facebook enrollment is directly correlated with rising divorce rates. Matrimonial lawyers cite social media as a primary source of marital conflict and infidelity. And we all know this to be true, whether it's marital or relational. Constant suspicion about liking a pretty girls post or handsome guys post or something like that, where we're constantly now using these tools as weapons toward our own loved ones of suspicion and things like that. Again, I'm going to get into this in the astrological factors. Certain signs are more predisposed to use these tools in very unique ways. That's what I'm going to be teaching in the upcoming course. Of course, societal polarization, social media echo chambers fuel extreme political polarization. 2022 UC Davis survey found that 50% of Americans believe that a U.S. civil war is likely in the next several years. 50% thinks we're going to have a civil war because of the extreme propaganda that has been flowing through our screens now. And we saw it, it's been about 10 years on high, really amped up. But this is, again, all part of our dopamine getting hijacked. So as you see here, it says course concepts diagnosis. I'm teaching a course on how to astrologically diagnose modern distraction and provide a clear path for restoration of our karma after understanding exactly how this dangerous new digital landscape is changing our personal and collective karma irrevocably. So this isn't a joke. We're all being changed individually, collectively, and it's on a karmic level, as everything is. And so we need to understand it. It's not going to be fear-mongering. It's going to, or, waving the finger at people. It's going to be intelligence, discrimination, first understanding and identifying how each planet interacts with these tools. So the core mechanism, the what, I'm mostly going to be focusing on this dopamine fix. This is kind of the universal compulsive behavior that leaves you drained and overstimulated. That's really the hook. That's the thing that you're trying to get to feel good, kind of like an addict. They're looking for dopamine. They're looking to feel good. So that dopamine fix, each planet sign house responds in that way. So the astrological diagnosis, the why. Astrology shows the specific things your soul is seeking when you fall into this dopamine trap. Each planet, the sun looks for dopamine in one way, the moon in another way, Mars in another way, Mercury in another way. We're looking, each one of the planets interact on social media and through this fragmented attention in a different way. So it's not just hijacked planets, how a planet's energy is distorted. Again, Mars drive becomes like a keyboard warrior, Venus kind of like a glamour princess. Jupiter is following these fake gurus, false teachings. The sun is like envy and wanting to be as powerful as the other images. So I'm going to break all of this down, how our planetary karma is getting hijacked and fragmented and distorted. But also the signs, of course, how each sign has a specific dopamine fix. For example, Libra chasing pseudo-glamour, filtered selfies instead of real beauty. Of course, hijacked houses. What are the houses in your chart? If you have a bunch of planets in the third house, that's a very different dopamine, deficit hijacking than the 8th house, which is very specific, or the 10th house. So how each area of life and each house is drained by this fragmented awareness. And then a deeper analysis around gender differences, how these issues express differently for men and women. I just talked about how men would approach the Venus hijacking as more around things like porn. Women, very different. Women approach the Mars in a very different way than men. So the gender differences are also very important. Philosophical hijacking, how pop psychology, memes, and influencer culture replace real connection. We see this now. Everyone's an expert. We all believe our whole philosophies have gotten hijacked. It takes nothing now for us to believe in this influencer or that person, right? Definite philosophical hijacking. It's a Jupiter problem, but it's also more cultural and has a very specific impact. And then also the political hijacking, how platforms use outrage to hijack critical thinking and to distract you from what's really happening. If you notice, they're all doing fine. All the ones that are trying to distract you and get us fighting with each other so that they can run away with all the money. Okay, I sound like a typical conspiracy theorist, but this is real stuff, okay? So again, half of Americans think we're going to have to go to civil war over these big differences we all have. The differences we have aren't nearly as much as the similarities we have. There's a big club, and we ain't in it. This is what George Carlin said about 30 years ago. So this is what I'm going to be talking about in the course that's coming up. I have a free web class you can register for that's coming up on Friday, November 7th at 10 a.m. The replay will be available The free webinar is The Science of the Hijacked Mind. Discover the research-backed data on how social media is engineered to fragment your attention, create anxiety, and damage your focus and karma in the Vedic sense. So again, this outline was prepared from that page, and I go into depth of all of this research. These are just bullets of the real research, and I'm also going to talk about how each of the planets are impacting you. So I hope this was helpful. Please like, share, subscribe, and get more updates.